In the heart of the old world, long before the age of cities and steel, there was a realm known as Arindor. Arindor was a land of towering mountains, ancient forests and deep, glimmering seas. Legends spoke of hidden kingdoms, mystical creatures, and forgotten places where magic still thrived, waiting to be discovered by those brave enough to seek it. In a quiet village by the sea lived a scholar named Marek. Marek was no warrior, nor was he a man of great wealth or status. He was simply a man with a thirst for knowledge and a heart that longed for adventure. From a young age, Marek had been captivated by the ancient texts that spoke of the lost lands beyond the veil of mists. It was said that these lands held secrets from the time when the old magic was strong, and among these secrets was the Emberstone, an eternal flame said to grant clarity and understanding to those who found it. One evening, as the village was bathed in the soft light of the setting sun, an old map was placed into Marek's hands. The map, worn and faded, was given to him by a sailor with eyes as grey as the stormy sea. "The lands you seek are not for the faint of heart," the sailor warned. "But if you believe in the stories, this map will lead you there." Marek studied the map, tracing its lines and symbols, feeling the pull of destiny in every curve. He knew that this was the chance he had been waiting for, a chance to explore the uncharted waters and discover the lost lands of Arindor. Marek gathered what little he had and set sail the very next morning, his small ship cutting through the waves like a shadow. The journey was long and lonely, the nights dark and silent except for the whisper of the wind and the distant call of the seabirds. But Marek felt no fear. He was guided by a force he couldn't quite explain, a quiet certainty that he was meant to find what lay beyond the mist. After days of sailing, the mist began to gather on the horizon, swirling like a veil of smoke. Marek steered his ship into the mist, the world around him fading into a soft white blur. Time seemed to lose its meaning in the haze, and Marek felt as if he were drifting through a dream. Hours passed, or perhaps days. Marek couldn't be sure. But at last, the mist began to lift, revealing the outline of a small island. The island was like nothing Marek had ever seen. Its shores were lined with ancient stone pillars, worn and weathered by time. The air was heavy with the scent of salt and wildflowers, and the wind carried the distant sound of singing, a haunting melody that seemed to come from the heart of the island itself. Marek anchored his ship and stepped onto the shore, feeling the cool sand beneath his feet. He followed the sound of the singing, his heart pounding with anticipation. The path led him to a great stone archway, its surface covered in ancient runes that glowed faintly in the twilight. Beyond the archway, Marek found himself in a vast garden filled with flowers that glowed like stars. In the center of the garden stood a woman, her hair as silver as moonlight and her eyes as bright as the morning star. She smiled at Marek, and he felt a warmth spread through him, a feeling of being welcomed home, even though he had never been there before. "Welcome to Arindor," the woman said, her voice as gentle as a breeze. "I am Elowyn, the keeper of the Emberstone. You have come a long way to find this place." Marek bowed his head, unsure of what to say. I came seeking the eternal flame, he admitted. Elowen's smile deepened. The flame you seek is not a thing to be taken, but a light to be found within yourself, she said. The lost lands of Arindor are a reflection of the soul, Marek. What you find here depends on what you carry within. Marek listened, his heart filled with questions. But the legends, they spoke of the flame granting clarity, he said. Elowen nodded. Clarity comes not from possessing the flame, but from understanding it. The journey you took to find this place, that is where the true clarity lies. Marek stood in silence, letting Elowen's words sink in. He had travelled so far, faced the unknown, and ventured into the mist, all for the sake of seeking something outside of himself. But now he realized that the journey was never about reaching the flame. It was about discovering what lay within his own heart. Elowen reached out and placed a hand on Marek's shoulder. You have found what you came for, Marek. The flame burns brightly within you, as it does within all who seek it with a pure heart. Marek felt a sense of peace wash over him, a calmness he had never known before. The garden seemed to glow brighter, the flowers swaying gently in the breeze. He looked at Elowen and smiled. Thank you, he said softly. Elowen nodded, and the world around Marek began to fade. The garden, the singing, the ancient pillars, all of it dissolved into mist, until Marek was standing once more on the shore of the island. When he returned to his ship, the mist had cleared, and the stars shone brightly overhead. Marek set sail for home, his heart lighter and his mind clearer. He knew that he would never forget the journey he had taken, the voyage that had led him to the lost lands of Arindor and to the truth within himself.